Hi, I'm Lisa. Today, I'm going to read you the story of Sally, which is titled like this. My parents publicly announced they were moving in with me, selling their house to sponsor my sister's lavish wedding. You'll take us in, won't you? They smiled. Of course. They had no idea I knew about it when they arrived with their stuff. Well, let's go. I'm Sally, and I'm 33 years old. I work as an investment analyst, and I've been pretty successful at it. After years of saving up and working my butt off, I finally bought my own house. Nothing fancy, but it was perfect for me. It had everything I wanted, especially this great office where I could work from home. The house didn't need any repairs or changes, which was awesome because I could move right in and start enjoying it. I decided to throw a housewarming party right away. I invited all my friends, some relatives, and, of course, my family. My parents, my younger sister, and her fiancé were all supposed to come. The party was going great. My friends were having a good time. Everyone was eating and drinking, and people were complimenting the house. I felt really proud showing everyone around, especially my home office. I'd worked so hard to get to this point in my life, and it felt amazing to finally have my own space. Then my family showed up. They were the last ones to arrive, which was typical. My parents walked in and immediately started looking around with these weird expressions on their faces. Not happy, not impressed, just skeptical, like they were trying to find fault with everything. The house looks good, my mom said with this tight smile that didn't reach her eyes. My dad just nodded along, not saying much. I knew that tone. It was the same one they used when they wanted to criticize me, but were trying to be polite in front of other people. I'd heard it my whole life, so I just ignored it and kept showing people around. My sister was quiet too, which was unusual for her. She's normally pretty chatty, but she seemed distracted. Her fiancé, though, that was a different story. This guy comes from some rich family, and he never lets anyone forget it. He started making comments about my house, saying stuff like how the living room in his parents' house was bigger than all my rooms combined, and how his apartment had more windows in just the living room than my entire house. I smiled sweetly at him, even though I wanted to pour champagne on his head. That's interesting, I said. The difference is I bought this house with my own money. Your parents bought your apartment for you. His face went bright red. He left immediately. My sister ran after him, and my mom hissed at me that I couldn't control my terrible temper. My parents followed my sister out the door. I just shrugged and told everyone to keep celebrating. The party actually got better after they left. 2 months passed, and I didn't hear a word from any of them. I was honestly happy about it. They used to call me all the time, asking to borrow money that they never paid back. Without all that stress, I was sleeping better and had more money in my bank account. Then, suddenly, my mom called me. She sounded different, almost sweet. Sally, honey, I'd like to invite you to a family dinner, she said. Can you come over this weekend? I was surprised, but said yes. Maybe they wanted to apologize for the housewarming disaster. When I got to my parents' house, my sister was already there. She was alone, no fiancé in sight. We sat down at the table immediately, and my mom looked at me with this gentle expression. Sally, we have a request for you, she said in her soft voice. The thing is, your sister's fiancé's family is very wealthy, and they don't want to lose face. We need $230,000 for the wedding, and the groom will add another $230,000. I stared at them. Are you serious? We invited you here because we know you have big savings, my mom continued. You told us about your account when you were talking about buying the house. My sister leaned forward. Sally, I need you to give me $230,000 so I can have a gorgeous wedding. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Are you all out of your minds? You want to organize a wedding that costs almost $500,000 when you don't have the money for it. That's exactly why we invited you, my mom said. No, I said firmly. I will not give you that much money. I'm completely against spending money on expensive weddings. My sister immediately started crying. You're just jealous because you don't have a boyfriend. My dad finally spoke up. Sally, by refusing, you're jeopardizing your sister's wedding. I was tired of listening to all this crap. I grabbed my purse and ran out of the house. I got in my car and drove home, my hands shaking with anger. $230,000. They actually thought I would just hand over that kind of money for a wedding. They were completely insane. Over the next week, my phone wouldn't stop ringing calls, texts, voicemails. Sometimes they were begging. Sometimes they were demanding that I change my mind. My sister sent me crying voice messages about how I was ruining her life. My parents sent texts about family loyalty and how disappointed they were in me. I ignored all of it. There was no way I was giving up my hard-earned money for their ridiculous fantasy wedding. A week later, my sister showed up at my house. She pounded on the door and demanded I let her in for a conversation. I knew exactly what was coming, more begging and tears. I didn't open the door, so she sat on my doorstep all day, telling every neighbor who walked by about how cruel I was. She made a whole scene, but I still didn't open the door. Eventually, she gave up and left. I thought the worst was over. My parents and sister had finally stopped calling and texting after that whole doorstep drama. A month had passed without any contact from them, and I was starting to relax. Maybe they'd finally accepted that I wasn't going to fund their crazy expensive wedding. Maybe they'd decided to scale things back and have something more reasonable. I was working from home one Tuesday afternoon when my phone rang. I almost didn't answer because I'd gotten used to the peace and quiet, but when I saw the caller ID, I picked up immediately. "Aunt Linda," I said, surprised. Aunt Linda is my dad's sister, and she's always been my favorite relative. She's the only one in the family who never asks me for money or treats me like a walking ATM. She's also the only one who's ever really understood me. "Hi, Sally," she said, but her voice sounded weird, strained. "I need to talk to you about something important." My stomach dropped. "What's wrong?" "I was visiting your parents yesterday," she said. "I stopped by to drop off some things your uncle wanted to give your dad. They didn't know I was coming, so I let myself in with the spare key, like I always do." I waited for her to continue, but she seemed to be struggling with how to say whatever she needed to say. "Sally, I overheard them talking to your sister. They were in the kitchen, and I was in the hallway. They didn't know I was there." "What were they talking about?" I asked. "They said they're going to sell the house in 2 months. They're going to spend the money on the wedding and then tell you they need a place to stay temporarily." "But, Sally, they weren't talking about it being temporary. They said you wouldn't dare kick them out despite your terrible character." I was speechless. I sat there, holding the phone, trying to process what she just told me. "There's more," Aunt Linda continued. "They're planning to announce this publicly at your mother's 55th birthday party next month. They figure if they tell everyone in front of a big crowd, you won't be able to refuse them without looking like a horrible daughter." "They're going to ambush me," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "That's exactly what they're planning. They kept talking about how you'll be trapped, how you won't be able to say no in front of all those people. They seemed really pleased with themselves." I felt sick. My own parents were plotting against me, planning to manipulate me in front of everyone I knew. They were going to sell their house, blow the money on my sister's ridiculous wedding, and then force me to take care of them. "Sally, are you okay?" Aunt Linda asked. "I don't know," I said honestly. "I can't believe they would do this to me. I'm sorry I had to tell you, but I thought you should know what they're planning. You deserve to be prepared." "Thank you," I said. "I really appreciate you warning me." After we hung up, I sat in my office, staring at the wall. My parents weren't just asking me to help with the wedding anymore. They were planning to destroy their own financial security and then make it my problem. They were going to be homeless by choice, and they expected me to fix it. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. They were going to sell their house, spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on one day, and then move in with me permanently. They'd probably never contribute to bills or groceries. They'd probably treat me like a live-in servant in my own home. And the worst part? They were planning to manipulate me into agreeing by doing it in front of a crowd. They knew I'd be too embarrassed to refuse in public, so they were going to use that against me. I thought about all the times they'd asked me for money over the years, all the emergencies that were never really emergencies, all the times they'd guilt-tripped me into helping them when they'd gotten themselves into financial trouble. This was just the ultimate version of that same pattern. I realized I had a choice to make. I could let them trap me at the birthday party and end up stuck with them forever, or I could do something about it now. I picked up my phone and called my realtor friend, Mike. He'd helped me buy my house, and he was good at his job. "Mike, it's Sally," I said when he answered. "Hey, Sally, how's the house?" "Still loving it. Actually, that's why I'm calling. I need to sell it. There was a pause. Sell it? But you just bought it. Is something wrong with it? No. The house is perfect. It's a family situation. I need to sell as soon as possible and find somewhere else to live. Can you help? Well, you're actually in luck. I have clients who've been looking for exactly your type of house in that neighborhood. And I also have other clients who are selling a house that might be perfect for you. If you're really serious about this, we could probably make it happen in a couple of months. I'm completely serious. And, Mike, the new house needs to be on the other side of town, as far from my current neighborhood as possible. Okay, he said, and I could hear the curiosity in his voice, but he didn't ask questions. I can show you the other house tomorrow if you want. Yes, definitely. The sooner, the better. After we hung up, I sat back in my chair and took a deep breath. I was really going to do this. I was going to sell my house and move somewhere my parents couldn't find me. It felt scary, but also exciting. For the first time in my life, I was going to be completely free from their manipulation and their constant demands for money. The next day, Mike showed me the other house. It was actually nicer than my current one, with a bigger office and a better kitchen. And it was definitely far enough away that my parents would never accidentally run into me. I'll take it, I told Mike. Don't you want to think about it? He asked. No, I'm sure. Let's do this. Everything moved faster than I expected. Mike wasn't kidding when he said his clients were eager. Within a month, I had buyers for my house who were willing to pay my asking price and close quickly. The timing was perfect because I was able to buy the new house at the same time. I kept everything completely secret. I didn't tell anyone about the sale or the move, not even my closest friends. I was paranoid that somehow word would get back to my parents and they'd figure out what I was doing. I needed this to work perfectly. The hardest part was packing without anyone noticing. I had to do it gradually, a little bit at a time, so the neighbors wouldn't see me loading boxes into my car. I started with things I didn't use every day, like books and decorations. Then I moved on to clothes and kitchen stuff I could live without for a few weeks. Moving day was insane. I scheduled it for very early in the morning, like 5 a.m., so none of my neighbors would be awake to see the moving truck. I felt like I was escaping from prison or something. The movers were professionals, though, and they had everything loaded and ready to go in just a few hours. By 9 a.m., I was completely moved out of my old house and into my new one. The new owners were scheduled to get the keys that afternoon, so the timing worked out perfectly. I spent the rest of the day unpacking and setting up my new home office. 2 weeks went by peacefully. I worked from home, got to know my new neighborhood, and enjoyed not having to worry about my family showing up at my door or calling me for money. It was the most relaxed I'd felt in years. Then my phone rang. Mom, I said, seeing the caller ID. Sally, honey, she said in that fake sweet voice she uses when she wants something. I wanted to call and invite you to my birthday party personally. It's going to be a big celebration, and I really want you there. Of course I'll be there, Mom, I said, trying to sound normal. When is it? Next Saturday at Romano's restaurant, 7 o'clock. There's going to be about 50 people there, including your sister and her fiancé and his parents. It's going to be so nice to have the whole family together. That sounds great. I'll definitely be there. Oh, wonderful, she said, and I could hear the satisfaction in her voice. I'm so happy you're coming. It's going to be such a special night. After we hung up, I sat there thinking about what was coming. She had no idea that I knew about her plan. She thought she was going to surprise me with the announcement about selling the house and moving in with me. She thought she was going to trap me in front of all those people. But I was ready for her. The night of the party, I got dressed up and drove to Romano's. The restaurant was packed. Mom had invited everyone she knew, relatives, neighbors, friends from work, people from church. My sister was there with her fiancé, and his parents were there too, looking all fancy and expensive. Aunt Linda was there too, and when our eyes met, she gave me a little nod. I sat at the family table and made small talk with everyone. My parents were in great moods, laughing and joking with the guests. My sister seemed excited, too, probably because she knew what was coming. Her fiancé kept checking his phone, looking bored. Dinner was served, and everyone was eating and drinking and having a good time. I kept waiting for the moment when Mom would make her announcement. I knew it was coming, and I was ready. Finally, about halfway through dinner, Mom stood up and tapped her wine glass to get everyone's attention. Everyone, can I have your attention, please?" she said, smiling widely. The whole restaurant got quiet. All 50 people turned to look at her. "I wanted to thank you all for coming to celebrate my 55th birthday with me," she began. "It means so much to have all of you here tonight." Everyone clapped politely. "But I also have some exciting news to share with you," she continued, and I saw her glance at my dad and sister. "My husband and I have made a big decision about our future." Here it comes, I thought. "We've sold our house," she announced, and I heard several people gasp in surprise. "We used the money to give our beloved daughter the wedding she deserves." She gestured toward my sister, who immediately started crying happy tears. Everyone started clapping and cheering. My sister's fiancé actually smiled for the first time all night. But Mom continued, holding up her hand to quiet everyone down. "After we paid for the wedding, we don't have much money left. So, we're going to move in with our wonderful daughter, Sally, who, of course, would never refuse to help her parents." Everyone turned to look at me. My parents were grinning. My sister was wiping away tears. And my aunt was watching me carefully. I could see the trap closing around me, just like they'd planned. I took a deep breath and stood up. I put on my best shocked expression. "Mom, Dad, I had no idea you were planning this," I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "This is such a surprise." "We wanted it to be a surprise," Mom said, beaming. "We know how much you love us, and we knew you'd want to help." "Of course I want to help," I said. And I saw the relief on their faces. My house is always open to my parents. Everyone started clapping again. My parents looked so happy and proud. My sister was crying again. Even her fiancé's parents were smiling and nodding approvingly. "When do you need to move in?" I asked, still playing my part. "Well, the new owners want us out within a week," Mom said. "But we can move in with you anytime." "We're so grateful, Sally." "You can move in whenever you want," I said. And Aunt Linda covered her mouth to hide her smile. I sat back down and finished my dinner. I stayed for about another hour, making small talk and accepting congratulations from people about how generous I was being. Then I quietly slipped out and drove home to my new house, where my parents had no idea I lived. The next 2 days were peaceful. I worked from home and enjoyed my secret. On the third day, my phone rang. "Sally," my mother screamed into the phone. "What the hell did you do?" "We went to your house today, and there's another family living there. They said they bought it, and you moved out." "Oh, that," I said. "Yeah, I sold the house and moved." "You framed us," she screamed. "You made fools of us." "Actually, Mom, you decided to trap me by announcing your plan in front of everyone." I just responded the same way. "So, I guess we're even." "Where are you?" she demanded. "We're standing here with all our stuff, and people are staring at us." "I'm not telling you where I live," I said. "You can go live with your other daughter." "Sally, you can't do this to us." "I already did. Goodbye, Mom." I hung up and immediately blocked all their numbers. They tried calling from other phones, but I just hung up when I heard their voices. They sent texts from different numbers, but I blocked those too. 2 weeks passed in complete silence. I was working peacefully from my home office when my phone rang. It was Aunt Linda. "Sally, I thought you'd want to know what happened after you left them at your old house," she said. "I'm listening," I said, settling back in my chair. "Well, your parents showed up at your sister's apartment with all their stuff. They expected her to let them move in temporarily until they figured out what to do. Her fiancé refused to let them in. He said it wasn't his problem that they'd sold their house and spent the money. He laughed when they reminded him that they'd paid for his wedding. He said the money was already in his account, and he'd already paid for the wedding hall, flowers, food, everything." I wasn't surprised. Rich people don't get rich by being generous with other people's money. "What did my sister do?" "That's the worst part," Aunt Linda said. She sided with him. "She told your parents they needed to leave because they were embarrassing her in front of her future in-laws. So, she threw them out too, completely. Your parents had to find a rental apartment with what little money they had left from selling the house. They're living in some tiny place across town now." I felt a weird mix of satisfaction and sadness. I was glad they were finally facing the consequences of their actions, but it was still hard to hear that my own family had fallen apart like this. There's more, Aunt Linda continued. They were so angry about everything that they refused to go to your sister's wedding. They said they had two traitors in the family now, you and her. Can you believe that? I actually could believe it. My parents had always been dramatic, and this was exactly the kind of thing they do. They'd rather make a point than swallow their pride and show up for their daughter. After we hung up, I sat there thinking about everything that had happened. My parents had manipulated and schemed to get what they wanted, but it had completely backfired. They'd lost their house, their financial security, and both their daughters. My sister had gotten her expensive wedding, but she'd lost her parents' support and destroyed her relationship with them. And me? I was living my life quietly in my new house, working from home, and enjoying the peace and quiet. 3 months later, I was scrolling through social media when I saw photos from my sister's wedding. She'd posted dozens of pictures showing off the fancy venue, the expensive flowers, the designer dress, everything. It looked like something out of a magazine. But what struck me most was what was missing from the photos. No pictures with our parents. No family photos with the bride's side of the family. Just photos with her new husband, his family, and a few friends. I stared at one photo where my sister was cutting the cake. She looked beautiful and happy, but there was something empty about it. She'd gotten everything she said she wanted, but she'd lost her family to get it. A few weeks later, Aunt Linda called me again. I ran into your parents at the grocery store, she said. They looked terrible. They're still living in that tiny rental apartment, and they're struggling to pay the rent. Are they working? I asked. Your dad's trying to find part-time work, but he's getting close to retirement age, so it's hard. Your mom's been telling everyone who will listen about how awful her daughters are. What's she saying? Oh, the usual. How ungrateful you both are, how she sacrificed everything for her children, how you're both selfish and cruel. She's really playing the victim card hard. I wasn't surprised. My parents had never been good at taking responsibility for their own actions. It was always someone else's fault when things went wrong. Do they ask about me? They want to know where you live, but I told them I don't know. They asked if I could get your new address, but I said I wouldn't do that, even if I had it. Thanks, Aunt Linda. I appreciate you respecting my privacy. Of course. You did what you had to do to protect yourself. I don't blame you one bit. After we hung up, I realized I didn't feel guilty about any of it. My parents had made their choices, and now they were living with the consequences. They tried to manipulate me, and when that didn't work, they destroyed their own lives trying to get what they wanted. I thought about my sister, too. She'd gotten her fancy wedding, but at what cost? She'd lost her parents' support. She'd damaged her relationship with me. And she'd married someone who clearly didn't care about her family. I wondered if she ever regretted choosing her fiancé over her parents when they showed up at her door with nowhere else to go. Now I live my life quietly. I work from home. I have friends. I do things I enjoy. I don't communicate with my parents or my sister anymore. I haven't told anyone my address yet because I'm still afraid they might try to show up and demand I take care of them. Sometimes I wonder if I should feel bad about how everything turned out. My parents are struggling financially, living in a tiny apartment, and they're getting older. My sister has cut them off completely, and they don't have anyone to help them. But then I remember all the years of manipulation, all the times they guilt me into giving them money, all the times they treated me like their personal ATM. I remember the housewarming party where they let my sister's fiancé insult me in my own home. I remember them plotting to trap me at the birthday party and force me to support them forever. They made their choices. They chose to sell their house to pay for an expensive wedding. They chose to try to manipulate me instead of asking for help honestly. They chose to prioritize my sister's one-day party over their own financial security. And I made my choice too. I chose to protect myself and my financial future. I chose to escape from their manipulation and live my own life. I don't regret it. I'm happier now than I've been in years. I sleep better. I work better. And I don't have to worry about my phone ringing with another crisis I'm expected to solve.